Hello, this is Aimee Buchanan, and this is another short tutorial. We are going to talk about WordPress plugins today, and specifically what my top 10 free recommendations are. There are lots of plugins, but these are just the top 10 that I would recommend you get started with if you're just putting your blog together. If you want to check out other tutorials, you can visit my blog at aimeebuchanan.com. Let's get started with what we will cover today. We're going to talk about what is a plugin. We will go into how many plugins you should have. I will also cover the top 10 free plugins that I recommend you get started with and how to install them. So let's talk about real briefly what is a plugin. So basically is a little piece of code, if you would, that expands the functionality of your blog. And a lot of people, a lot of programmers and coders put these together, and they're available for free at anywhere, but primarily you find them on WordPress, on the WordPress site. You can Google the functionality that you may be looking for in a plugin, just like you actually Google an app. And I hear a lot of people always say, right, there's an app for that. You can pretty much bet that there's a plugin for that particular functionality that you're looking for. So if you're ever questioning something, for example, you want to figure out how you can add tables to your blog, you can go into Google and type in plugin for tables in WordPress or something like that. Typically, plugins are free, and a lot of them are donation based, so you'll see that you'll be able to download them for free, and then you'll see a little donation button if you want to pay for the programmer to continue to update that plugin, and it's totally voluntary. There are other plugins that will cost money, but for the most part, I would say the majority of them are free, or you can find a similar one that you might pay for free. Once you install a plugin in your blog, they must be kept up to date. So every once in a while, you will see in the backend or administrative section of your blog, I'll show you here real quick, you might see that you have updates, and some of those updates may be maybe your theme, or quite often are the plugins. They're updated to stay up to date with the latest WordPress revision, or maybe they fixed a bug or they enhanced it, etc. So you may see that. So make sure that you check your back office, your administrative office, excuse me, of your blog often, and you keep those updated so that they keep functioning correctly for you. The plugins are very easy to remove, and just under each plugin you will see that you will have a deactivate, which just kind of makes it not work on your site. And if you want to completely remove it after you've deactivated it, like for example the social bookmarks one, you'll have the option to delete it, and deleting the plugin is what removes physically the files from your website. You may want to do this for plugins that you're just no longer going to be using, because it helps reduce the size of your blog if that should be an issue. There are hundreds and hundreds of plugins available. Again, you can Google those and find several that do the same thing. So what I always do is, before I install a plugin, I go see what the programmer shows that it would look like. I also see what kind of ratings it has, and you can install something and then put it on your site, and if it's not exactly what you were looking for, or it's too complicated or whatever, you can just deactivate it and then remove the files and go try something else. Okay, so now we know what plugins are. Let's find out how many you should have. And really, it just kind of depends on the plugin size. So there's really no limit to how many plugins technically you can have. Nobody limits that, and there isn't truly a standard of how many. It really depends on how much room you have in your blog, in your server, wherever you're hosting. It allows for a lot. I mean, I don't know how much functionality you really need on your blog. I personally have about 2 pages worth of plugins on my blog. I would say maybe that comes out to about 20 or 30 or so. I probably don't need them all, and I think that you can get away with about 10 or 20, but there's really no restriction on that. There are actual plugins that will reduce the speed of your WordPress blog and the size because of all the plugins that you have installed. So, that's kind of interesting there. like I said, there is no limit, and as long as you keep them updated and remove the ones that you're no longer using, then you should be okay as far as size is concerned. Now let's go into the meat of today's tutorial, which is my top 10 plugins. And these are not in the order of recommended use, just the top 10 that I think, or that I pretty much use the most with my WordPress blog, personal, and also when I build other clients' blogs too. These are the ones that I try to include, the first 10 that I include. The first one is called the Tiny MC Advanced, and this is actually a little editor, if you would, that is added to your posts and your pages that allows you to increase the size of your font on your blog to the size that you want by using this little end user friendly option here, and I'll show you what I mean by that. See this little drop down font size field here? This is usually not part of any WordPress blog that you install unless you've bought a special theme that it comes with. Usually you'll see just the headings, you know, heading 1, 2, 3, etc. It comes pre-built with that. So the MCE, the Tiny MC Advanced, will allow you to specify, to highlight a particular piece of text and make it a different font size just by selecting whatever size you want it to be, etc. You can obviously do this directly on the code. So for those of you who know how to increase font using the code and type in HTML, then obviously you don't need that plugin. But if you don't know how to do that, then this is a very, very, I use it all the time and I know how to code, so this is just a lot faster. Okay, so let's go to the next one. The next one that I recommend would be the all-in-one SEO. And this one is just really the best and fastest, most recommended way to get your posts or your pages to rank on Google. The all-in-one SEO is a little suite of fields that will allow you to add a title, keywords, and description to each of the pages and of your blog. And aside from the tags that are already part of your posts, it'll also be part of that, and it really increases the potential of your particular keyword that you're aiming for to be ranked on Google. Again, all of that is going to depend on obviously what keyword you're using and how you're using it throughout your page or your blog, but the all-in-one SEO plugin is highly recommended. It's free, it's easy to install, and it's very easy to use, very user-friendly. And these are my top 10 free ones. So I have an SEO plugin that is not free. However, it is very, very similar to how this one functions and what it looks like. So I'm going to just kind of show you what mine looks like over here so that you can get an idea of what I mean. But here's it's called Builder SEO, and you can't buy that plugin without that particular theme. If for some reason you wanted more details on that specifically, let me know. That one is just fantastic, but the free one is very, very good too. And basically when you go to, I don't know why I'm in the plugin section, if you go to a post such as this one, here's what the SEO plugin will look like for you too. You'll be able to add the title, description, whether you want that post or links to be follow, etc., and the keywords, and that really, really makes a difference in the ranking of your post. Okay, so let's keep going here. The next plugin is the Tweet Me retweet button, and just like that one, I'll do the other one real quick. This is the Facebook share, and these are the buttons that you see on people's blogs, like such as here. That people can share your posts with other people, and these are some of the plugins that you add to your blog. You'll have to use some configuration and settings, and you will find any plugins that need that along the left hand side here. For example, here's the Facebook share and here's the Tweet Me, so you may want to go back to that side menu to edit them a little bit further, but that's what that plugin is for, and that allows people that come to your website and like your blog or your post, to share it with their social media friends. We also have a social media widget that's a little bit different, and this is the way that you would, an easy way to put on your blog where you want people to follow you at. So this is kind of what the widget looks like, and you can add just, there's tons in that widget. It's a plugin, but you add it in as a widget in the back end. So what you would do is once you activate that plugin and you go to your widget section, then you would go and find that particular social media widget and drop it wherever it needs to go. And then here's all of the social media sites that you can link to, and whichever ones you populate are the ones that are going to show up. You can even make those buttons larger if you want to, or smaller, or you can even add a link to custom buttons if you have your own that you can link to. So it's a very, very handy. I used to do this just from scratch, you know, just putting in the code and building the image from scratch. It's just not necessary. It does the same thing, and it's nice and attractive and standard, and everybody recognizes those. So that's how I do the social media, and I highly recommend that plugin. The next plugin is the Comment Love, and I actually have a post that I just put on my website about commenting and how that makes your blog a lot more visible and ranked a little higher on Google when people are commenting on posts. It makes, to Google, it makes that particular post more relevant to the search queries. If people are commenting on it, then it must be a topic that is relevant to the search. So what that Comment Love looks like, if you go to my blog over here, here's, by the way, the post about Comment Love, but if you go to the comments section, what that allows is for the people that are commenting on your blog, or if they have a blog, right? Because when you first go comment here, it's going to ask you for a link to your blog. It allows the commenter to automatically post their latest post onto your blog. So as you see, Thomas here, when he went to put the comment, it asked for his blog, and then Comment Love, which is on my blog, automatically pulled his very last post. So if anybody that's visiting and reading the comments wants to read what Thomas wrote about, they'll click here and it takes them directly to his blog. You can see here, you know, I'm already logged in, so it's not going to ask me, but if you go to my blog and enter comments, it'll automatically ask you if you want to link back to your latest blog. So that's a really nice way to not only create a link back to your blog from a blog that is a page it's ranked 4 at the moment, but also it gives you a little bit more visibility with some of my followers as well in this case, and then it'll give visibility to your followers when you have that Comment Love plugin in there. Make sure that with that Comment Love plugin, that is one of those that you'll have to edit a little further. So just look for it on the left-hand side of your administrative page. The thank me later, excuse me. This is a nice one. This actually, when somebody comments on your blog and they enter a valid email address, you can set it up so that it automatically sends a thank you email to that commenter, and that's really nice to stay in touch with the people that are visiting your blog, and also to maybe ask them to come back, or to kind of, you know, tell them to revisit your blog, etc. It's just a nice touch. And all of these, by the way, are just, if you search them just by their name, you'll find them easily. The do follow, it activates the do not follow feature that is automatically built into all WordPress blogs. And what that means is that if people are adding links to the comments of your blog, if your blog is a do not follow blog, then it doesn't mean anything to your commenter to add those links. It doesn't give them any value. So a lot of people actually choose not to comment on blogs that are do not follow, because really it's in social media, it's really a win-win situation. So once you install that do follow plugin, it deactivates that feature, which is nice. So I highly recommend that you do that. The other plugin that actually comes built in with all WordPress blogs, and a lot of people actually ignore this, but is the Akismet plugin, and this one catches all spam. And I'm not kidding, like I've gone through my spam folder of commentaries that people, not people, but mostly robots, you know, machines or search engine spiders, or, you know, or people even that try to do black hat tactics for increasing visibility to their blog, it'll identify all these comments. So if you have a blog and you're just bombarded with all these comments that are just not really real comments, right? You can tell because they're very vague in what they are praising you for. You know, you'll be able to identify them. And if you're having a hard time figuring out if it's a real comment or not, just go to your spam folder and you'll probably find 2 or 3 that come from 3 different people that are exactly the same content. But the Kismet really catches all of those and puts them in your spam content. As a matter of fact, I never have comments automatically approved on my blog. They all have to be approved by me first to avoid any of those spam comments to filter through. And I recommend that you did that also. It also gives you an idea of, you know, what people are saying before you post it on your blog, just to make sure that it stays nice and clean and that the discussion is healthy. And the very last but not least free top 10 is Google Analytics. Anything that you do online ever, you want to make sure that you are tracking who's coming, who's going, what pages are people visiting, because it actually helps you identify trends. You know, what are people looking for? What is the most visited topic on my post? And then you can concentrate some of your future posts and articles on those keywords or on those particular topics that people most visit. So definitely Google Analytics. Now this particular plugin is one that will obviously need that you have, will need you to have a Google account already set up. So most people have a Google Gmail already set up. It's totally free, but you'll have to do just a little bit of setup there. But it's very easy. It only asks that you enter your Google account number in there, and you'll find it once you set up your Google Analytics through Google. And just enter into this plugin. It'll do the rest for you. It'll show you a little stat graph of how many people are visiting your blog, and you can look at that stat from your blog stats, or obviously once you've set up Google Analytics, you can also look at the reporting directly from Google Analytics account, either one. And those are my top 10 that I recommend. In order to install these, it's very, very simple, and I'll show you really quickly, but we'll go through the steps here. You go to your admin panel, you're going to find plugins along the left menu, and click Add New, which is one of the options under plugins. And then you're just going to search for one of the names that I wrote down for you, one of the top 10. If you're looking for something else or some other functionality, like I mentioned before, if you start typing just the functionality that you're looking for, most plugins are relevant to the name of the plugins, are usually relevant to the functionality that they accomplish for the most part. If not, you can always Google the functionality, and a list of plugins that are relevant to that will show up. But that's how you can search for the plugins, and then you just pretty much click on the install. I recommend that you install your plugins directly from your WordPress administration instead of uploading it and then installing it, because the install is just a lot easier. It uploads the zip file and installs it for you automatically. So make sure that you don't upload the plugin, that you go back once you found the one you like through Google or through WordPress, go back into your blog, go to your administrative section, find the blog via your administrative plugin area like I'm showing you here, search for it, and then install it and activate it from your blog. It's much easier. And then make sure that if that particular plugin needs some other settings that you need to adjust, that you look along the left menu, you will see that plugin listed on there, and just click it and it'll tell you what options you have of settings for that particular plugin. So let's take a look really quick before we close. We'll go to the plugins here. So you go to your back-end administrative section, you look for plugins, which is right here. You click on Add New. Yes, leave this page. And it's going to give you several options, okay? What I'm recommending that you do is, if you want to look for the plugin, for example, if you want to look for the Thank Me Later plugin, you can click on Search. It should come up with a list. Here's, if you know the name exactly of the plugin, it's going to give you that one first. It's like a search engine, so all you have to do, mine's already installed, but if it wasn't, it would say install instead of installed. And you just click that, and then once it's installed, you will have the option to activate it. And all you have to do to activate it is click activate. And then if this particular one, thank me later, is one that you do need to obviously do some settings, because it's going to ask you what you want to send, what message you want to send, and how often you want to send it, etc. Also, remember I mentioned that some folks ask for donations, so it does ask for a particular donation. If you want to, you can change this also to whatever amount you want, or just leave it and ignore it. It's up to you. And that's it for plugins and how you install them. I hope this was real helpful to you. And if you want to see more tutorials, just visit my blog at imabacanon.com. Thank you so much, and I'll see you again at the next training. Bye-bye.